Today, it is my absolute pleasure to be joined by Sarah Campbell of Fidelity Investments. Sarah is a customer success manager at Fidelity and works with the Shoebox team. I'll let Sarah take it away in a moment here, but Netcapital and Shoebox, we've worked together for years. We absolutely love the product, and the majority of our clients have used the product and absolutely love it as well. So I think that when companies are looking at just different options for cap table management services, and then different services that underlie from there, it's so important that you pick the right partner. And when Fidelity and Shoebox merged, we really just saw kind of a shot in the arm to the product. And then I met Sarah and just have seen what she's done with several of our clients. So Sarah, I would love to welcome you in. It's my absolute pleasure. And I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Tom. Really excited to be here. We were just saying just before the call, this is the best part of the gig, right? Is being able to come on and hopefully help people, or at least make life a little bit easier, because it's frankly pretty stressful to be a founder, especially in this current landscape. So let me just pull up. I do have a short deck. Ta-da! And I want to start with a little, just a small thought exercise. So if you would indulge me, imagine that the tables have turned and you are an angel investor and you happen to specialize in funding early stage companies that happen to be in your company's specific industry niche. And you have capital to deploy. The market is starting to turn around. There's rumors that IPO season is going to come back really strong. The Fed is going to lower interest rates. Liquidity is going to be injected back into the market. So you're doing your homework now to find the next unicorn business that you can invest in. You've heard pitches, you're excited to dig in, and so you ask the founder if you can see their cap table. Now, before we go any farther in this thought exercise, I almost said fantasy, but let's not speak that way. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. What even is a cap table? Frankly, it's just a document. It's a spreadsheet or perhaps a table that details who has equity ownership in a business. It is a 30,000 foot picture. So if I'm an investor and I have access to a business's cap table, I can very quickly and very easily get the landscape about how much money they've raised, about what stage they're at. I can see on this screenshot that I've got here, this is just from one of our demo environments. I can see that I've got a couple preferred holders, common stock holders. They've done a Series seed round. So I can very, very quickly get a lay of the land and know exactly where my check would fit into the rest of the players, I suppose is a way to say it. So it's a document. That's what I want to drive home. It's a very important document, though, to your business. So going back to our thought exercise, you're ready to write a check. You want to look at a cap table. I have seen historically this go two ways. The first is that the founder anxiously says, yeah, sure, we can email that right over to you. And they smile, and then they go back to their office and panic update an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Drive sheet. There's a lot of anxiety, probably a lot of coffee. And then later on, when all their fingers are crossed, they shoot that over to their investor at a later time of day, or sometimes even at a later date. This is not what I want for you. I'm just going to speak frankly. This is not what I want for you. There are better ways and better answers to skin this cat. So the other way this could go is that the founder says, sure, not a problem. I'm on Shoebox. Give me your email address. I'm going to invite you to the account right now. Boom. No going away, no emailing at a later date. Right there on the spot, you are ready to go when luck and opportunity meet. And I think another nice thing about using a software-based solution is you're not losing things in email threads. Everything lives in one umbrella. It's just a great way to be streamlined. So now that we're 6 slides in, who is Sarah Campbell? I'm so glad that you asked. I am a CSM. I'm a customer success manager for the artist formerly known as Shoobx, now Fidelity Shoobx. I have actually been in the startup space for over 6 years with different startups. I have been through 3 different acquisitions as an employee, but I've been an employee of high growth startups, publicly traded companies, private companies, lower or slower growth startups that weren't profitable. I feel like I've really sort of seen it all. And I love it. I love this space. I love the bootstrapping. And just the excitement of, founders are very passionate people that have big ideas. And I think that is incredibly noble. And we need more people that are on fire. Just a couple of fun facts about me as well. I'm a former Zumba instructor when I lived in Los Angeles. I'm now based on the East Coast, outside of Washington, D.C. But, do what you love and get paid for it was my philosophy there. So that was a great time. And right now, I'm also incredibly excited about crypto and blockchains, not financial advice, of course. I'm just really interested in the underlying tech. And I truly believe that it's going to change the way we live in the same way that the internet did. But let's move on. Let's move on from my bio and talk about our goals for this session. So by the time we all walk away from this call, I'd love for you to understand what Shoobx is, what it can do for you. I'm going to show you a demo, of course. And then I'd love to take your questions. I did a very similar session to this one actually yesterday. And so my brain is all fired up and ready to hear what you have to ask. So what Shoobx does. I like to describe to my clients that a great way to think about how our software works is to imagine you're preparing your taxes on a software platform like TurboTax or EasyFile or any sort of tax prep software. In principle, they all work the same way. You are bringing your documents, your W-2s, your 1099s, your deductions, you're bringing all of your information to the computer, you type it in, and at the end, the software prepares all of your tax forms, organizes them for you so you can log in later on and access them, and then files them for you if you pay the additional fee, of course. So it's going to feel very similar to how Shoobx works, but it's going to be from a company equity management perspective. So Shoobx is a well-rounded solution for most of the heavy hitter activities that early stage startups and even later stage advanced mature startups need to accomplish. Equity, fundraising, and then we also have a suite of human resources features, which is really helpful. So for companies that are starting to scale, perhaps they need to bring on some consultants, or they're going to bring on an advisor or hire employees. Anyone that part of their compensation is going to be equity, you can do all of that from Shoobx. I have clients that use Shoobx that have 25 employees, and the system works perfectly well for them. They don't have to go buy another product. They don't have to find anything new. They can just use it, everything in-house. And then more specifically speaking, I've got a short list of actions here, like granting shares or options. Perhaps you need a formal 409A valuation. You want to create the actual stock certificates for your founders' shares. You want to plan and then execute your next fundraise, whether that is, a safe note or a convertible note, a common stock sale, all the way up to a priced round. So a Series Seed, Series A, and even beyond. And that now Fidelity acquired us, we do help companies go public or plan for exits, whether that's a sale and anything under the M&A space. Companies can grow up from incorporation all the way to being publicly traded at Fidelity. You don't have to go somewhere else. So I think that's really, really cool. Of course, it would be better if I showed you instead of just telling you about what Shoobx can do. So let me switch gears. And first, I'll show you how to come on the platform. So um, happily, and I know that whenever you come to one of these talks, you might start thinking, I wonder how much all this is going to cost me. I've been there. I'm also a consumer. I get it. But happily, we have a basic tier of service that is free. So our hope is that you build your foundation, perhaps now while you're early. Many of my clients that are early stage are in their first year or even their first, I would say, 3 years. And they're small and they're scrappy and they build it before they need it, essentially. So if you have raised less than $1 million and you have fewer than 25 stakeholders on your current cap table or Excel sheet or Google sheet, you are welcome to get started with us today if you want for free. Just go to shoebox.com/pricing and click get started for free. If you have raised more than $1 million, we obviously can help you with that too. You're welcome to click the appropriate schedule a demo button, or if you'd like me to introduce you to the most appropriate person on our sales team, I'm happy to do that as well. Anyway, but you can do this today after our call. We're going to ask for some preliminary information to get your account set up. Once you have this in, your company name, your email, your password, then it will open up what we call onboarding. And this is a snapshot of the onboarding workflow for Shoobx. And it looks a little intimidating. I'm not going to lie to you. I would say you should block half an hour, maybe an hour, depending on how big you are as a company for onboarding. But we're going to start and then we're going to build, like I said, the foundation for your business. So that way you do work one time and then we're sort of green flag racing from there. All right. So this first step is your company charter. And while this is spinning up, I also want to add, we have an excellent library of self-support articles and tutorials that will walk a client step by step through how to do this work. So if you're thinking, this looks like I don't want to sit down and do this right now, I'm happy to send you a list of documents that you should have handy and break it down so it doesn't seem like you have to eat the elephant all at once. Okay. So in these preliminary steps, remember, we're thinking in the same vein as tax prep software. So when your tax prep software says, give me your income, we're asking for your company charter, which is probably one of the most important documents to your business. I'll click continue in the lower right. Okay. And then just a quick note, we exclusively work with Delaware C Corps. And the reason for that is because, well, there's a couple of reasons actually. Fundamentally, investors expect their portfolio companies to be incorporated out of Delaware. And that has a lot to do with how Delaware business law is crafted. It's incredibly favorable to businesses. One recent example I can cite is I had a client that needed to close a round of fundraising in a day. And so they needed to pay for expedited filing with the state. And Delaware will allow you, for the right amount of money, to file your paperwork in 1 hour's time. You'll pay for that, but I can't think of another state that has accommodations for that fast of a turnaround. Typically, they're very bureaucratic and you don't see that. So Delaware is kind of where it's at as far as the startup landscape. Additionally, the document templates that are available for you to use on Shoobx, and I mentioned some of these, granting options, setting up a stock incentive plan, All of these sorts of things are crafted based on Delaware law. So if your business is incorporated somewhere else, but you're crafting templates for Delaware business law, some of that is probably not going to match up very well. So for the purposes of this step, I'm simply going to confirm my company's a Delaware C Corp. I have the charter handy. This company's name is Huli One. And then I'm just going to communicate to the system what I have. Here we go. Some optionality for titles. We help you out by filling this in, but you can edit it as you go. All right. And I won't go through this entire workflow, but I just want to show you how it works. Let's say I have 10 million authorized shares. All right. And as you can see, we ask for bylaws, we ask for EIN documentation, but they're not required. We just need to collect the charter at this point. If you have more than one class of common stock, you can indicate that here. Most of my clients that are within their first few years only have common at this point. It's, I'd hate to say it's very common, but that is just a groaner of a pun. So we'll just keep moving. All right. And you get the gist. We're adding your headquarter address. The headquarters state will be Massachusetts. So even if you're incorporated in Delaware, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where your office is. So we'll collect that here. All right, perfect. So it carries on in the same way for onboarding. You will click into each of these steps and communicate to the system what you have. Now, I do have clients that say, well, what if I don't have any employees or consultants? It's just me and my co-founder. I say that's perfectly fine. In fact, it's very typical, but you still need to tell Shoobx that you don't have any employees. So you will have to click in and just indicate that you don't have anyone and then move on. The same with the stock incentive plan. If you don't have this, just tell the system what you have. At the very end, you will click on this green button, create your Shoobx. Now, at that point, the system will send over a ticket to our team to be your second pair of eyes for any clerical errors, anything that might look off. You indicated you had 2 classes of stock, but the charter only authorizes 1. Things like that will catch. And that's because, unlike some of our competitors, we care a great deal about data accuracy. And so we're going to double check and make sure that it's right, because this is, again, the foundation of your business. So, all right, so that's onboarding. Let's skip to post onboarding. So let's say you sit down for an hour, you complete onboarding, you're on the system. Now what? So when you log into your company after onboarding, this is an example of a dashboard that you're likely going to see. And there's a few things that we can do here. I'm going to just give you a little tour of your dashboard and how the system is architected. So first off, we do have a left-hand navigation panel. This is probably the faster way to toggle between the different kinds of things that you want to see and do. The cap table is king, so I'll just click in here. And this is that same screenshot that I had showed you earlier, but in perhaps a broader, better view. So I have 2 preferred shareholders and 1 common stockholder. Georgine is a founder, and so she has a restricted stock agreement for common shares. So there's a lot of numbers on here, but as you can see, your cap table, as you're using the system, as you're updating it, this report will also update in real time. So any convertible debt, any fundraising changes, any employees you bring on that you're maybe going to grant them compensation or stock as compensation, anything that might potentially affect ownership of your business and dilution, you'll be able to keep track of it here. As you can see, there is a fully diluted column that updates as you go. So you can track the changes in dilution over time. Now, we do offer an Excel export. I sort of ragged on Excel earlier, but I know that we all use it and love it. Who are we kidding? And especially many lawyers and investors do still like to use Excel because it's familiar. It's a comfy, cozy place to land. So you can export there. And then there's also a suite of options here. If you'd like to filter by date, you can take this back. And the UI is a little wonky here. That's my screen, but there's a couple of different options that you can toggle on or off to get a different landscape for your cap table. All right. Cap is king. That's what we say. In addition to the cap table, let's say you're thinking about, at 2024, it's going to be your year to fundraise and go out and, be pitching, hitting some road shows. You can plan either by the next round planner. You can plan, crunch some numbers and see what that might look like. Or if you're planning an exit, conversely, we also have these two modeling tools can help you, again, crunch some numbers, see how the dice may fall, as it were. This is your sandbox, and these are included in the free account as well. So have at it, my friends. And then there are a few other reporting features here as well. One that I'll point out that's really helpful is equity promises. So you verbally told someone, yeah, I'm going to give you some stock in my company, but you haven't actually drafted the legal documents yet. Shoobx can keep track of that for you on this report. All right, staying in this main dashboard view, I'll go ahead and pop into the data room. All right. So here we are. So the data room it's twofold. There are options to customize with your own documents and your own folders. After all, it is your data room. You can upload whatever you want. But let's say you're creating a grant or even founders shares. You create the grant, you finish that workflow. Automatically, the code of the software is going to route your documents to the appropriate folder when you finalize that workflow. So it's like I said before, you're doing work one time, and then your reports are also updating in real time, and your documents are naturally getting routed to the appropriate folders. We built this data room based off of what investors expect to see during a round of diligence. So down to the names of the folders, acquisitions, corporate records, we built this based off of feedback from investors of what makes sense to them and what they're looking for when they're doing due diligence on a company. So any folder that has a little asterisk in the middle lives in the Shoobx code and can't be altered. And that's actually a good thing because we talk to investors all the time, and we're trying to eliminate the friction between you and the people that can fund you. We all want to get funded, of course. But again, let's say I want to upload my own documents or even create a different folder. You can do that in this top right corner here. Recently, I had a client create a marketing branding folder. I'm not sure why they wanted to save it in their equity management data room, but that's none of my business. It's their data room. So absolutely, I want them to be able to do what serves them best. There is a search bar up here. And then if you'd like to get more granular, on this left-hand side, you can see, we'll tell you exactly how many documents live in corporate governance, for example. And as you can see, I have 9 different written consents between my board of directors and my stockholders in this folder. So we're trying to help make everything faster and require less time. All right, so that's our data room. So this is all well and good, but how do we actually take action on the platform? So I've mentioned the word workflow a few times, and I'm going to mention it again. Here we go. Workflows are how you take action on the platform. I'm going to click on Start New Workflow. And Shoebox has, I believe, just over 50, I believe 52-ish different workflows on the system. Chances are you won't need all of them, but many of them you likely will be able to take advantage of. And again, keep in mind that this is built for companies that are in their first year all the way up to a Series D round or beyond and are perhaps looking at an exit. So they need more complex accounting features, they need more complex valuation features, things like that. All right, many of these are currently grayed out, as you can see, and this is likely because there is no attorney registered to this account. I have clients that say, but I want to be my own attorney, Sarah. And I say, okay, you can choose to do that. I don't think it's the best way to go. And here's why. Legal mistakes are always more expensive to walk back when they're not done correctly the first time. I can't tell you how many times our clients write in and they need help because they ran something and they drafted documents that were actually not appropriate. But now to unwind it, they have to go back to their attorney and pay those billable hours. They have to go back to their board of directors and recollect signatures approving the reversal of the document they created. It's just a bit of an expensive headache. So the shoebox position is have an attorney that you like, that you enjoy working with, because this person is going to be a part of your team. And you'd like to have a high level, a high degree of confidence that they are not only for you, but they'll be worth their weight in gold as you go and as every dollar counts. If you are currently shopping for an attorney, I believe Netcapital has resources for you there. And Shoebox also has a short list of startup attorneys that have many clients on our platform. Again, I just recommend find someone that is specifically a startup lawyer. There's nuances between regular business, corporate law, and startup law. So something to keep in mind. And then also make sure it's someone that you actually want to work with and that you actually wouldn't mind calling. Again, when I ask my clients, have you called your attorney? They say, I don't want to call my attorney. Why? This is part of your team. So have someone that you enjoy working with. Okay. Once you do register your attorney on the platform, whether the attorney is going to be running the account or the founder is going to be running the account, and typically the founders run the accounts because they like to be in control, and frankly, they move faster than many attorneys do. Then once you're all together, you can have that conversation about who will manage it. But most of these workflows, any that are gray or locked, as long as it's not a feature that's only available on a paid tier, it will become green, just like this one, grant shares under stock incentive plan. Okay. So let me switch over to a different business that's a little bit bigger. This is Theta Corporation. And like I said, they're a little bigger. They've been in business for a while. So as you grow, you can think about how, the landscape might look. They have some different colors on their cap table. They also have 17 different employees. They're taking advantage of the human resources, human resources. Yes, resources, that was on, available on Shoebox. And I'll show you their cap table briefly. Okay, so here we go. What do you notice about this business right off the bat? There's a Series B round, there's a Series D round. There's some different holders on here. I've got many common stockholders, but I also have options holders. So these are likely employees, yep, that have been granted stock option grants under their plan. And then this one even has some warrant holders. I won't get into warrants right now, but as you can see, the cap table is keeping up with all of this work. And so let's say that Theta Corporation is going to add a safe. So I know that safes are probably the most common way that young startups fundraise. We do use the Y Combinator template in our software. So that's the industry standard. So that's what we use. So I'm just going to come over here and click on Simple Agreement for Future Equity. All right. And so I'm actively running the SAFE workflow. And I'm going to pause here to just remind that a major way that this software will save you money is by drafting the documents yourself. Like I said, there aren't 500 different ways to do this work. There's typically one standard way. And when we talk to attorneys, we overwhelmingly hear things like, yeah, document drafting is the most boring part of my job. I didn't go to school for document drafting. I'd much rather have more meaningful strategy-based conversations with my clients than sit and draft documents. So why pay your attorney $250 plus per billable hour to draft documents when you could do it the same standard way as most other startups do it yourself? And then perhaps you kick it over to your attorney to review. It should take them maybe 10 minutes tops, and then you're done. Food for thought. All right, you'll always have a couple of choices when you're running a workflow. If it doesn't yet exist, you can create it from scratch. So let's say I've just had verbal conversations with my investor. Now it's time to actually get things down on paper. And so I go and I log into my account and I run the SAFE workflow generatively. If you have perhaps some more special conditions or you wanted to have your attorney draft the SAFE for you, you can always come back and select upload. Either way, when you're finished with this workflow, everything will update, as I mentioned before, but you can, it's a way to get anything that was drafted offline to be updated in this system. So for purpose of the demo, I'll simply say that we're going to create this from scratch. There are a series of steps. There is a series of steps to complete a SAFE. So we won't finish the entire workflow today. This is a securities law check. All right. This is a question about series. It does not mean a series round of fundraising. It simply means, will your SAFE be part of a series of SAFEs? What that means is the terms of the SAFE are all going to be the same, but you'll have multiple investors coming to the table. So in this case, I'm going to say no. I will say that series SAFEs are not the most common thing that I see every day, but they are out there and they're not that crazy. All right, I'm going to add my investor. Judge Judy is going to invest in my company. You have a choice here. If it's a fund or a firm or family trust or something like that, you would want to tick this second circle. But in this case, she's an individual. All I need is first, last, and an email address. Now, it's important to note that Judy hasn't received anything at this point. We're just adding information. Okay. Let's say it's 100,000. All of this looks good. My valuation cap will be 5 million and no pro rata. And that's it. So you put in all of the big numbers. And so what Shoobx is going to do is create the actual safe document for all of the parties to sign. Next, we're going to get to the governance steps. So it's important to keep in mind that your board of directors does have to approve all of these actions. In this case, I can waive stockholder approval, but you will need to select how you will record the governance step for the safe. So Shoobx can do that for you. We like to make things easy. You can also approve it separately, or you can point to a different document in your data room. You can upload a separate document, whatever is easy for you. Most of my clients just let Shoobx do the work. All right. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. All right. And now we're at the checkpoint, which I affectionately call the point of no return. This is your last opportunity to make any edits or changes to the documents you've drafted. As you can see, there's an option to send this to your attorney before you deploy it for signatures. You just have to toggle the button on. And when you go past, if you click this green button, it will simply send it to your counsel. It won't send it out to anyone else. And your counsel will receive an email message notification that says you have documents to review. Please log in. And there will be a button that will take them to your account. This is not required for safes. In fact, I believe legal review is only required on Shoobx for 4 or 5 different things. And that's because they have a lot of legal nuance in those things. Things like creating a stock incentive plan, any sort of professional priced round of fundraising does require legal review. But those are sorts of big and more complex activities. For the most part, you should be able to do most of what you need to do without sending to legal review, if that's your preference. As you can see, here's a list of the 2 documents that we've created in this workflow, the actual safe document for Judy and the board approval. So when I deploy this, when I click continue and send it out, this next tab says wait for approvals. First, the board is going to approve the round, the fundraise, and then it will go to Judy to approve as well. And then finally in this list, there will be an email that goes out to all of these parties. You can take a look at the language here. You can customize it if you like. You can copy yourself on the message that goes out, whatever your preferences might be. And then finally, there is an option to share the documents that you've created. I should have also mentioned, you can download PDF copies. I'll go ahead and do that now, just to show you what it looks like. All right. And this is the actual safe document that you've just created on Shoobx. So if this is all very new, as you go along, typically my clients feel, a deeper sense of comfort. They know what's going out. But if you're new and you wish, you can read all 9 pages of the actual safe document before you proceed further. You can also share the documents with, if you have a second email address that you like to use, or just any other email address that is not Judy or your board of directors. Sometimes I have clients send this to a personal assistant that helps them keep some separate copies offline. You can do that as well. And again, once I click continue, it's the point of no return. And that's when we'll actually be deploying your documents for signature. Now, I will also say here, sometimes I have clients pass the checkpoint, but their cap table hasn't updated yet. And that's normal. That is actually expected behavior because, as we say, it's not over till the fat lady sings. So it's not finalized until it's actually finalized. All right. Once you pass the checkpoint, your board of directors, anyone on your board, any involved party that needs to approve is going to receive an email message in their inbox to log in, review the documents, and then actually sign them. So you don't need DocuSign for this. We can collect all of your electronic signatures here in-house. There we go. Perfect. All right. So Gavin is approved, and now we're just waiting for Dave to approve as well. But you'll be able to track how things are moving in the workflow while it's still in flight. And if I go back to my main desktop, excuse me, dashboard, I can also track the workflow here. It'll show up in the top, Safe for Judy Justice. And then all of my other completed workflows will show in the list down here. Now, if I'm Dave Adams and I'm waiting I need to approve, it's outstanding, that will show up under my tasks. So if I'm Dave and I get the message that there is a document for me to approve and I log in, my tasks will be where any outstanding things that need my attention are going to live. All right, so that's Shoobx. And that's how it works. So I know we have some time left. I would love to hear any questions that you might have or anything that's top of mind, equity related. I'm happy to help.
Sarah, thank you so much. And obviously, having worked with you guys for a number of years, I know the product pretty well, but I always learn something new listening to you. You're so knowledgeable. You're so great at the way you present. So thank you so much. We do have several questions that came in, and I know we have the hour here. So if all right with you, Sarah, we'll just kind of go down the list and chip away.
Yeah.
First question is just on the way, and the example that they're using, it's a client of ours, Shoebox, quote unquote, talks to Netcapital. So kind of like each of the line items. How do the platforms interact if a single line item comes in terms of the intricacies of Shoebox, where it sits, things like that?
Sure. So that's interesting because we're not integrated platforms, but we do have a lot of clients that do crowdfund. And then what we found over the years is that, you know, if you're crowdfunding and the average check, Tom, I think you told me it's like $1,200 or something in that ballpark. You don't want to have 55 people on your cap table owning 0.0012% or whatever of your business. So typically in crowdfunding situations, all of those funders are rolled into one investment vehicle, typically a safe, and then we add it as one line item to your cap. So, and that's through a workflow similar to what I just showed you. So all of the documents that are related, so we just had a Netcapital client. I don't know if I should name who it is, but they closed a round. And so they added it to their cap table, but then in the data room also created a folder with some of their agreement documents just so that they can keep track. And I think again, the main thing is yes, we want to record this correctly, but also from a data room standpoint, you want to build it where you can look back several months later and it all makes sense. So I would just say, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, Sarah, I think it does. And if it doesn't, we can, you can obviously reach out to Sarah and I and schedule time to chat further. And I think, you bring up a good point, right? Because all the Netcapital investors are bundled together, so it's one line on the cap table. And you absolutely do not want one of our clients that raised several $1,000,000 with us, joined Shoebox and your team, and they had over 3,000 investors. And you do not want all these investors obviously showing up on your cap table. And so I think that, we recognized several years ago that it was appropriate to integrate the proper technologies, third-party custodians, all of that to do that. So, and I think it's pretty seamless. But again, you can reach out to Sarah, myself, and probably Sarah if you want to get more of a demo and back into the product. But I'm also happy to answer questions as well. Let's see here. Let's go to this one. How do you segregate the information uploaded for internal purposes from that info shared with investors? Can you track activity of investors that you've been given access to?
Yes. What a great question. I'm so excited about this. So let me go back to my demo environment here. All right. So we have a user directory here. Let's say you have an investor that's interested and they want to take a look they want to look under the hood. So what you would need to do is first add them to the account as a user. And then the second step is to adjust their access and permissions. So let's see. These are all pending. I wonder if I can still do it. So let's say Andrew O'Brien's Family Trust is potentially going to write me a check. So I've created a very, very, very basic profile for them of just name and email. And the reason that it says that they've not yet activated their pending is because they've gotten the email, but they haven't clicked on it yet to create their password. Now that's fine. They can do that whenever they have time. But for you, the founder, there's two ways that you can adjust their access: reports and documents. So this configure access button, this is, I just want to give cap table access, for example, or not even this one. I just want to give this one, ownership summary access. And usually that's sufficient, typically from what I see. And then I'm going to save that. And now right away, when this family trust logs in, their dashboard is not going to be what everybody else, what you see. It's not going to be this robust human resources, user directory. It's not going to have all of that. It will just be one line equity and financing capitalization table. They simply won't see it. The next way that you can adjust permissions is your data room. What I like about the data room access is that you can get incredibly granular with it down to the subfolder. So I just want to show equity within my financing folder. I want it to be view only, and I want it to expire in a month. You can set all of that up. Just make sure you click save at the bottom. View only does mean that they'll be able to download documents, but they're going to be watermarked very clearly. So this is simply a preference of investors and lawyers. They want to be able to see the actual document, but they're watermarked in such a way that it's incredibly obvious that that's, it's a watermarked doc. But yes, it will be view only. And then additionally, I'll just save this. Okay. Additionally, so you can see diligence tracking is currently disabled. When I'm adding this person, when I'm putting in their name and their email, there will be a little box that says turn on diligence mode. And diligence mode is sort of the second part of that question, which is how do I see what they've looked at? So if you have diligence mode on, every day the founder will receive a report of documents that were clicked into, what documents were downloaded, what reports were looked at, with a timestamp and a date. So you'll be able to see exactly what has happened. There's full transparency for you there. And then in the same way that you can easily grant access, you can also revoke it at any time. So they see nothing.
Thanks, Sarah. And that backs into the next question, just regarding the approval of corporate resolutions. So if we use Shoobx to approve corporate resolutions, will the directors be able to propose changes, or is it only for finalized documents?
They can propose changes at that checkpoint. So the point of no return. So typically our boards are very, very small, or at least the boards that I work with are pretty small. So they're usually in the same room. Or otherwise talk to one another, most days of the week. Um, but what the best way to do it would be to, when it goes out to the board, to not sign it, of course, but to click that edit button, and they can input their changes, or they just email the founder and they kick it back. But it isn't finalized until everyone signs it. Uh, but it is all also captured within the software.
Got it. Thank you for providing color there, Sarah. And we've got a couple of questions just on this is for smaller companies. So, Sarah,
Yeah.
can you just restate what you said at the beginning regarding the amount raised and then the maximum number of investors that a company can have to start the free trial?
Oh, sure. And in fact, I think I still have it up. So the two milestones are $1 million and or up to 25 security holders on your cap table. What we have found, I would say about 9 months ago, about a year ago then, because it was pre-acquisition, Shoebox did an analysis of the market landscape and our business. And we determined that companies that surpassed $1 million, or they had more than 25 on their caps, they just needed a different set of features and a little bit more human support, in the form of customer success. So the pricing got restructured at that time, with those particular milestones. And for what it's worth, it's something to celebrate. Most businesses don't make it to $1 million or to 25. So it's really cool. Yes, it means that you have to pay now, but it's also pretty cool because it means that things are happening and you have traction and momentum.
Well, that's exactly it, Sarah, right? If you're raising millions of dollars, hopefully, folks are being smart and frugal and doing what's right for their business, which, the founders always have that on the forefront, and paying for appropriate and proper cap table management shouldn't be a huge issue, but it is a big issue picking the right partner. And Sarah, I know that we're coming up on the hour here, and just to echo our appreciation from Netcapital for you coming on today. I know that the two companies have worked together for several years now. Several dozens and dozens, if not hundreds at this point, of our clients have utilized the service, and you've always been a great friend and supporter of what we do. So really appreciate you taking the time to speak with the dozens of folks that came on, many who are clients to Netcapital, many who are thinking about joining the site, and many who just heard about what we were doing and wanted to come in and see your presentation. So really appreciate it, and thank you for joining us today.
You're so welcome. I'm here for you. Please reach out. There's an easier way to do this than Excel. So please let us help you. Thank you for
Yes,
having me.
absolutely. Sarah and I are pretty accessible, so you can email us, check us out on LinkedIn in order to get a hold of us, but also going to the Fidelity Shoobx website and getting started, and we can go from there. But Sarah, thank you so much, and thank you all for joining. Have a great day.